You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Cult of Lore.
A book review.
A book review.
And that's Eric.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Ben.
He's Ben.
Yeah.
And today we're going to do a book review. Ben, what are we going to be talking about?
I finally finished Sanguinius, the Great Angel.
All right.
Sanguinius is Primarch novel. You can't see it, but those bunny ears, they're hopping.
So, and this was written by...
Chris Wraight, and the audio, which is what I listened to, was Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who is a plus to this book right out of the gate. He's a fantastic narrator.
Yeah.
It's not Bowden, you moron. It's Keeble. Keeble is your favorite narrator. Get your shit straight. I ain't got time for this.
Yeah. He does a lot of the Warhammer books.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He's my preferred guy. I like listening to him a lot. So that was good.
Cool. All right. And so Ben's going to be carrying the load for this episode. He read the book while I was, toiling away at other things.
While he was working on that animation that you all watched, right? And thumbs up, right? And shared, right? And commented on, right?
Please watch it. I learned so much to do that. It took some time.
He literally didn't shower for 3 fucking days working on that thing.
That's right. The edit was all. So and we couldn't really think of a way to optimize the title for algorithm stuff. So we'll link that because it's been a year of Cult of Lore.
It
so
has.
That's why
this is our first one after the year.
Yeah.
After the year. So this is our new run. You'll notice a new backdrop and stuff like that. The link to that medley of quotes, which is a sampling of quotes from the previous year, yeah.
Yep, of Cult of Lore, all put together to the beautiful song by Adrian von Ziegler, or Ziegler.
I think it's Ziegler.
Swedish composer.
Yeah. He's good. Good composer.
Yeah.
But links to all that will be down in the description.
Yeah, so please enjoy. But now, without further ado, we'll get into our book review.
Right. So right off the bat, I don't want to waste anybody's time. What did I think in the book and would I recommend it? I didn't really care for it. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend it to a Blood Angels fan. I would instead recommend Fear to Tread and Echoes of Eternity. If you're looking for Sanguinius and the Blood Angels, those two are a lot better than what you're going to get out of this.
Okay.
So let's get into it from there. Right off from the gate, the main character of the book is not Sanguinius. And in fact, I found a description that he basically shows up in a 9 hour book. He shows up for about 10 to 15 minutes of it. And that's truth, man. He's not in this a whole lot. It's actually chapter 4 when we finally meet him. And we follow a remembrancer. And this remembrancer is a remembrancer that's really famous for not liking the Astartes. He's honest in some cases, but he is also biased. He'll take after the Night Lords and write about their atrocities, but then he'll be like, but also the Space Wolves are just as bad. And it's like, well, they're not.
Oh man, the Space Wolves are just as bad as the Night Lords.
Yeah, he doesn't. He really doesn't like the transhumans. Yeah. The Astartes, the Primarchs. He doesn't like them. He doesn't like what they do. And he's brought in by another remembrancer to write a puff piece about the Blood Angels, which makes no sense whatsoever. This guy, I looked for a long time to try to find his name, and I couldn't find any descriptions of it. And I found several posts talking about how hard it is to spell and pronounce, so you're just going to have to forgive me. I didn't want to go back through this book to try to figure out how to spell it and pronounce it.
So he's either the narrator or the remembrancer.
I'll just call him the narrator. So the narrator is like risking censure and execution because he's writing these hit pieces. And so another remembrancer brings him in, and her pitch to him is if you write this beautiful, just glowing review of the Blood Angels, it'll save your career. And through the entire time when she's like bringing him in, he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. Fuck these guys, basically. And so it sets up two things where I'm like, all right, I already don't like this guy.
Right.
And because he's biased. Like it does, like you can say that you can have him be truthful without just clearly being like, he's like, I don't like who they are or what they do, and I've never met them.
Right.
And his personality, like, I'll try to keep this in order, but there's a lot here that I have problems with on a writing level. And right from the get-go, I think that having a character that is automatically biased is lazy. Because there are several scenes in this when he joins the Blood Angels where he's like, I don't trust him. And people are like, why? And he goes, because I don't. And that's what leads him to be so skeptical through the whole thing. And it's like, okay, well, that got him there, I fucking guess. But it's lazy. It's lazy writing. If you like have him go in being this really zealot guy, and then he kind of loses it or kind of comes to terms with they're not so shining throughout. Give us something to like, I don't know, character development.
Yeah.
This guy goes through nothing. He's the exact same character coming out as he does going in.
And that's probably the biggest problem. Sounds like to me, just hearing it, is, the main character, the guy telling you the story, goes through no change.
Not really.
And it doesn't, I don't know, were there any other characters that kind of went through some sort of arc?
So, no, I don't think there were no real character arcs in this that I can remember. There is a Blood Angel that you get to know, and spoilers, guys, I am going to spoil it.
Yeah, this is a spoiler.
There is a Blood Angel that you get to know that, like, the narrator kind of goes, okay, he's not so bad. And then he mysteriously vanishes, and it's, of course, the Red Thirst. This whole novel is about the Remembrancer discovering the Red Thirst. It has almost nothing to do with Sanguinius.
Okay.
There's not no revelations in this, but they are few and they are tiny. So he's going through the Blood Angels, learning the ship and learning everybody, and he's like, okay, they're dressed real pretty. It makes me want to gag kind of because I feel like it's oppressive. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, like right from the get-go. Yeah. This guy's like, I don't like it. It's like, why are you here, man? Why am I reading this book from you? Like, go somewhere else. And yes, I'm a Blood Angels fan, but it's annoying as a reader, in my opinion, to have such a biased character be the only point of view you're getting.
Yeah, especially if it's not like centered around changing his mind.
It's not.
Yeah. Why would you start him that biased if you were going to just spend the whole book validating his bias?
I mean, more or less.
The end.
So he's going through the ship and he talks to Sanguinius, meets him, and he does some dick sucking service to the Blood Angels fans, and that's what I'm going to call it, because he tries so hard to straddle this line where he's like, I don't want to insult the Blood Angels, but also apparently he's like sick of writing about them or whatever. So he wants to trash them and talk shit about them, but he also doesn't want to. So he's like, the dialogue is so fucking weird where he's talking to like Sanguinius and the Blood Angels, and he's like, I believe them. They seemed so truthful, and yet they had something to hide. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
He's on to the bloodthirst.
Well, I mean, no, but he's just skeptical of them all the time. But like his inner dialogue is talking about how truthful they are and stuff. But at the end of their conversation, he's like, but I don't trust them. You're like, okay, so your writing is you're like, hey guys, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying they're bad people, but I don't trust them. They're doing something bad. It's like, oh my God, just cut out half your dialogue, make the scenes 5 or 6 minutes shorter, and just quit sucking us off. And we know he doesn't like them. It's fine. Quit with all this back and forth stuff.
Yeah.
Because at the end, he never once like sides on like their point of view. So this back and forth stuff is really disingenuous.
Right.
And so he meets Sanguinius, and Sanguinius tells him, he's like, I know about your propensity for writing hit pieces on Astartes. I want you to write whatever I want you to, as long as it's the truth. Nobody will censor you. Nobody will harm you. You have free reign to go wherever you want on the ship. You can do whatever you want. You have complete free reign, which is exactly, it's exactly. So the parts with Sanguinius are fine.
Right.
They're just not in much for a book that's bearing his fucking name. But also, didn't they do one called The Wolf Time? It didn't have much to do about what we thought The Wolf Time was. So maybe they're having a little trouble keeping their fucking titles correct.
Yeah. Sounds
Anyway.
a little clickbaity almost. The book version.
I will tell you that I felt so after coming off of Echoes of Eternity, and in one scene they do more about revealing the Blood Angel's past than this whole fucking book did.
Wow.
And so I really felt clickbaited out of this book.
Yeah.
I felt like if you had titled it The Red Thirst or something, which is, I read a guy proposed that on Reddit. That was not my idea. That was God damn it, Adam Boozler on Reddit. He said like if you had titled this about the Red Thirst, then it would have been fine. And I actually really agree with that. I still would have been annoyed that the character is so negative from the get, and that's what
But that would have been
greases. Yeah, it's what greases the entire thing to happen. It's a little too convenient for my taste.
Right.
But at least what you got in the story would have made sense.
You would have gotten what you thought you were signing up for.
Right.
In that case.
So he goes. So he gets the spiel from Sanguinius, and he joins them in battle. And you do get a really cool scene of Sanguinius joining the Blood Angels in battle, and them fighting, and the sons of Horus are there, and Sanguinius and Horus are fighting back to back. And this is a really cool battle scene, but again, short.
Yeah. Darn, that does sound epic.
It is. There's some good. I mean, I'm not saying it's a complete trash book, but there's the stuff that's good in it is just not enough.
Right.
So he finds a corpse that's completely drained of blood, and so that sets him off on this whole like I think they're hiding something. And he also sees some unmarked ships leaving the battlefield, heading back to Baal, which is, of course, the Blood Angel's homeworld.
Gotcha.
And then also this Blood Angel that he had kind of talked to and had made somewhat friends with is now gone. So, I don't know. Like, he starts going kind of crazy because being around the Blood Angels is affecting him mentally or something. I don't. They don't really explain it a whole lot. But like he's having trouble keeping like everything straight. And he's like, I think they're up to something, but I trust them so much, but I don't trust them because you got to have that sucking service in there. But he just starts wandering the ship, and he gets down into like the bowels of the ship, and he finds this altar that has corpses on it that are drained of blood.
Okay.
And he takes off out of there. And there's just some more talking to the person that hired him to do this. And he's like, I think that there's something wrong with them. And he also has contact with a world eater, I think. Or no, Latana. Yeah, it was a world eater. And that tells him some stories about the legions. And that's kind of neat for a little minute. And then he kind of drops the hint that maybe the Red Thirst is there because he might have seen it in battle or something.
Okay.
But he doesn't really talk, he just kind of drops a little hint. And this leads to the Remembrancer having a conversation with Sanguinius where he finally just out and out. Sanguinius basically tells him, like, you can ask me what you want to ask me. And he asks him about the Red Thirst. And Sanguinius lays it all out. And he tells him, it's a product of my gene. It's a mutation, just like my wings. And I'm working on curing it. And he tells him, like, you can write this, but you're not allowed to. He's like, you can write it. You don't have to alter a single thing about it. You can tell the 100% truth. You're just not allowed to release it. You're not allowed to release it until I cure this.
Okay.
And he's like, I give you my word. I will cure this. And the Remembrancer's like, I believe him. I don't trust him, but I believe him. And I mean, it's just, the back and forth is just so, just what you should have done is just him being like, I'm going to publish it. And Sanguinius is like, that's fine, but I'm not releasing it until I'm done.
Yeah.
You don't have to have this constant, like, I trust. Like, we get it. You're trying not to piss people off, but you've said it so many times.
And that's kind of a weird, like, how do you, I wonder what that even looks like on the page. Like, how do you get there where it's like, oh, I totally believe him, but I don't trust him.
I can't at all, like, or like he does trust him, but he doesn't trust the Legion or something. Like, I can't get a handle on this guy's thought process whatsoever. And I think it's because you have these two things that the writer feels like he has to straddle.
Yeah. Now, on top of that, so he's doing some investigating, and then eventually he just is able to straight up ask Sanguinius about it.
Well, yeah, he has unfettered access to everything. Like Sanguinius, and Sanguinius, of course, has foresight, so he's probably seen all of this.
Right.
And in fact, when the guy discovers like the temple, the altar where they're draining people, it's where they go down and do it to satisfy this urge if it gets a little too much.
Gotcha.
Sanguinius actually knew that he found that, and they don't have the conversation until way later in the book. So it's a big revelation that, because he's like, oh my God, if he finds out that I know this, and Sanguinius says, oh, I knew you were going to find it. It's fine.
Right.
And so he's like, ask me about it. And he just straight asks him, like, is what's going on with the blood? And he just rolls it all out.
Man. So this sounds like it could have been a pretty good premise for like a mystery, a slow revealing of the bloodthirst. Now, I don't know how long fandom has known about the bloodthirst.
It's been around for a while.
So at this point, it really doesn't sound like anything new.
That's what I'm saying. There's no revelations, and it's a revelation to the character, but there's no revelations in this book for the reader.
Yeah.
And he talks about the Revenant a little bit. And what I'm saying, it's like I said before, there's a little good stuff in here, but like compared to what we got in Echoes of Eternity, which was not a fucking Primarch novel, like that scene where he first meets the Blood Angels in Echoes of Eternity and talks about their history and all the things that they had done and how it changes now.
Yeah.
It's completely then counterdone by this story where Sanguinius says, no, I didn't change the Legion. I just made them more what they were meant to be. And hi, Dipper.
Hello, Gypsy. Welcome to the show.
But yeah, he just kind of sidesteps the whole like him changing the Legion, and it would have been fine if the narrator would have pushed back a little bit on what could have been perceived as Sanguinius's modesty.
Okay,
where he's like, I didn't really change them. It was a mutual kind of thing. But the narrator is more than happy to just be like, yeah, you're right. You probably didn't help much. It's like, God damn it. Like, I mean, gee. I mean, of course, they frame it, it's more like blah, 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 blah. It's not so bad, but you probably didn't help. Like, I mean, it's just like, it's like this coding of, yeah, you probably didn't help mixed with, oh, but you're a nice person, but yeah, you probably didn't do anything, you lazy piece of shit, but also like, I find you very trustworthy. It's just so fucking weird. It was so weird to listen. And that's why it took me so long to finish this book, because the doublespeak in it is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds really incongruent. That with little actual reason in order to back it up. Like, what about this guy makes him like so back and forth about it?
I have no idea. Like, because even by the time we meet him, he's already negative set up as he is. So we don't even get to find out really.
Right. He's just set in that belief.
Yeah.
Period.
He's just like, nope, I see them for what they are. And it's like, why? Why do you see it when nobody else does?
Yeah. Because there's some interesting stuff there. Like a human, he's human.
Right.
Like in a way that's like kind of questioning the emperor too. Like the emperor made these Astartes. Like what does he now think of the emperor having created these things if he's so,
I have no
under
idea.
the Imperium? Like there's some complex stuff in there that they could have gotten into that we could have seen. Like,
So he writes out his books, and the whole thing is in past tense. Now, I thought what it was going to do, and this was going to be his character arc. I thought there was going to
optimistic.
I thought there was going to be one.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that he was writing out his journals and he's like, I just have to get this out all on paper. And then it was going to switch to present tense. And he's going to be like, now I'm burning it all because the Imperium needs these guys. Like he's kind of come to terms with the fact that they're not perfect, but they're the best you've got in a world full of horrors. I thought that's where he was going to go.
Yeah.
Nah. So he writes his papers. And Sanguinius, of course, gives him this pledge, as long as I'm alive, you're safe. Well, we all know what happens in the end of the Horus Heresy.
Right.
Yeah, Sanguinius is killed. The character that hired him to be a narrator revisits him as an inquisitor. She's now an inquisitor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And she's like, we can't let these papers get out. And he's like, well, I was promised safety. And she said, while he's alive. And so she kills him and burns all the papers. And that's the end of the book.
So, sounds to me like a whole lot of ultimately nothing.
No, this book has no impact on the story of 40K or the Blood Angels or Sanguinius in any fucking way.
No impact on the story and no impact on like fandom as far as Revelations goes. Like you get some cool scenes in there, but like we already know about the bloodthirst.
Yep.
We already know what this man discovered, and it doesn't even get out to the wider world within the story. And
it can't because of which is fine.
Right. Yeah. No impact, but like they could have had like some sort of covert thing like, oh, I'm going to keep this knowledge passed on and we're going to keep it quiet until such a time as it is right to.
Sure. I'll give you a perfect example of something like that that should come into the storyline. There's a Night Lord called Gandor Shryback.
Uh-huh.
And he, at the end of the Horus Heresy, during the Horus Heresy, he gets a weapon that's demon possessed. And he ends up dying, and the demon takes his soul to the warp and takes his whole body to the warp and says, I'm going to teach you about pain for 909. Basically, for the exact same amount of time that's getting ready to come up in the 41st millennium storyline. And he's like, and then then you'll become my weapon to unleash upon the Imperium. So there's a really good example of something planted during the Horus Heresy era that in the storylines, he could end up coming back as like a Night Lord demon prince almost.
Right. Yeah.
And so you could have done that, been like, this Remembrancer has started an anti-Blood Angels cult, for lack of a better term, that is underground in the Imperium, that has held on to this information for a long time.
Right.
And then you could bring it forward, but they didn't.
They didn't even.
They started a story that was a complete I don't know how to say this, like a complete fabricated beginning. It didn't lead off of anything, right?
Okay.
Like it's a complete fresh start book and it's a complete dead end book. Like this book by itself is completely ancillary to everything.
Wow. Yeah.
And
comes from nowhere and goes nowhere.
Right. Yeah. And that would have been fine if it was like a Red Thirst, like you said, detective novel or mystery novel.
Yeah.
But this is Sanguinius' fucking Primarch novel, man. I was hoping for something like we're going to have a lot of time where he's with the Revenants building the Blood Angels. Or there's like a rumor that he had possibly met the Silent King of the Necrons because the Necron has like a face mask of his. So maybe we'd have got some hints for that. Or we'd have got some really cool interactions with him and Kurz or him and Horus or him and the Emperor or him and some fucking person. But there's nothing. There's nothing in this. There's nothing in this for the Primarch himself. Nothing.
And it is his Primarch.
It is, yeah. I don't think he's going to get another one.
Really?
I mean, so I kind of have a theory that maybe once they get all the Primarch novels done, they'll go back in and start again and be like, part two, and then part three. That way you can write it, because you have to be very careful how you steer this ship. And I understand that.
Right.
And I give them all the props in the world for how they've been able to manage this gargantuan monstrosity thus far.
I couldn't even imagine what would go into building this.
And this doesn't turn me off from Chris Wraight or anybody involved. I'll more than happily check out another. This is the first one that I've read all the way to the end where I was like, didn't like it. So I'm not, no way am I trying to dig on anybody here. This just was, I feel like he wanted to do a Red Thirst novel, but they were like, we need a Sanguinius novel, so put it in there.
Right.
I just don't feel like the story fit.
Or maybe they had set some pretty strict parameters that he had to work within, and it's just like
didn't leave you anything.
You literally can't do anything with what they allowed you, because what going back to that point of like you have to be super careful about what you reveal when and how it affects. This is it's that. Overall, it sounds like a misstep to me. I appreciate you taking the time to read it and save me the frustration there.
It wasn't worth the time. It wasn't worth the credit for, like I said, Fear to Tread and Echoes of Eternity will give you all of the 30K Blood Angels and Sanguinius that you could hope for.
Yeah.
Those and Fear to Tread is probably one of my favorites thus far.
Right.
We're going to be covering that sort of because I want to cover a specific character from that. He'll probably be our first character dive that's not a Primarch.
Ooh.
If you guys know him, he's a Blood Angel. His name is Miros.
Okay. Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with Miros.
Miros was, I read that book, and that was really good. And he was a really cool. There's an example of a character that was cool to follow through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious about that. Miros sounds like a Greek name. I'll have to see.
He's an apothecary. So
okay. All right. I'll see if I can find any connections.
Yeah. So that's my opinion. I'm going to end it. God, I hate. Why do people have to have names like this? If you hear this, Adam Boozler, like, man, come on.
the name.
But
the article though.
But his review, I agree with. I'm actually going to close with his words, not mine. The way he summed it up is a character you've never heard of is killed by another character you've never heard of to prevent a book you've never heard of from being published. That's perfect. That's Shakespeare.
Sums it up pretty well, huh?
It does. Like this, they're all like I literally can't make it better than that. That is literally the truth of this book.
There you go. Nicely summed up. Now, there's plenty of reviews that have been found of people that do enjoy this
there
book.
There are tons and tons.
Yeah.
I saw a review that I would so it's so far out there that I'm like, maybe I just completely missed it. I'd be interested in having a conversation with this person. They said that the first half of the book is a strong Dracula allegory.
Oh, interesting.
I did not pick up on that at all.
Okay. Maybe like John Harker staying at the castle, perhaps.
I guess, but like where Jonathan Harker was like, oh, this is strange. This is peculiar, but I have a job to do. This guy's like, nah, fuck these guys. And their decorations make me sick.
Yeah. Huh.
Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting.
So there are plenty of people out there that like it. And you know what? I'm glad they did. Maybe I was, maybe Echoes of Eternity just had me too invested in the Revenant storyline.
Right. Okay.
That I was hoping to get a lot more, because I'm really interested in that. I would love a whole book just called The Revenants, where it's about them before Sanguinius, and then midway through the book, Sanguinius shows up, and then we get the reformation. I would read that all day long and twice on Sunday. So maybe that's what I had. Maybe my hopes were hoping that it would go in that direction. I was just too let down. Regardless of all those, I think it is a factual misstep to have a Primarch so blatantly missing in his own novel.
Yeah.
So whatever you feel about that, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Cool. All right. And let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. Did you read it? Did you read the other two that I talked about? Echoes of Eternity, which we did a book review on. If you haven't gone to that, check that out. And Fear to Tread. Let us know if you've read that. Let us know what you thought about that. And let us know if you're excited about Miros, if you know who he is. But that's it.
There we go. Cool.
Yeah. Join us on all of the things.
Yeah. All the things. You can find Cult Talk Net at Cult Talk Net just by typing that into Google. You'll find us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and of course YouTube. We always link Adrian von Ziegler. God, I'm so sorry, sir. We always link him. There's Gypsy in the background again.
She's completely ignoring me.
We always link him in the description, so please check him out. Give him some support. He's great. He deserves it.
Join us here every first and third Thursday of the month.
That's right. We swear.
Also, yeah. Cult of Campbell?
Cult of Campbell. If you enjoy Campbell movies, we review those, particularly the performance of Bruce Campbell himself. Cult of Conspiracy. Cult Talks Conspiracy. Hosted by Ty and Bailey, also of Cult of Campbell. And they do a great job just kind of breaking down different conspiracies. They have a lot of fun with it, and they're very informative.
Yeah. They had, I don't know if it's dropped yet, but they got a spicy one that's either out or coming out.
Oh, it's out. I think that the spicy one you're talking about is out. The
porn conspiracy.
The porn conspiracy. So,
go give that one a thumbs up. Bailey had to work a lot of gumption up to do that episode. Ty had to really talk her into it. She is nervous as all hell and gone. So give that a listen to, or at least a thumbs up.
If you're a little too conservative to stick with that episode, that's fine. Just give her a like.
Yeah. Just give them a like to support their.
Took a lot of courage for Bailey to
do that.
So
check out all the other shows.
Yeah.
Give them a like. Let them know that we sent you so that they can sing our praise behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Remember, flood Cult Talks Conspiracies comment sections with werewolves with the exclamation point.
Yes.
Nobody's done that yet.
No. We have put out a call to action. It has not been answered.
If
so on our 1 year episode,
the first person to do that and send us their contact information, we'll get you something from Cult of Lore.
Ooh, all right. There
I'll do
you
that.
go.
I'll pay for that.
Yay. Well, that's cool. Now we have to go. Run down a wild dog. So.
Merchandising.
Yay.
All right. So with that, I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
And thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.